start button's been hit on the recorder. Takes a few seconds though, or a minute.
See what's been going on. We got a ladder here now.
That's a fire escape, you just catch.
I got you, so you climb out the window. But first we gotta knock the window out. I got you.
You go
Now,
first,
there's a
you go
rope out
first,
there.
and run your head through for me.
There's a rope out there, we can lower ourselves down.
Yeah, I sure wouldn't want you up. They say it's not to jump the body.
You wouldn't wanna run across the roof of some of these buildings, or now we end up in the building.
Yeah, that's true.
So your Red Bench Society was out last night, or is it is that what you call them, the Red Bench Club, or what?
Oh, they were out last night, yesterday.
Yes, I saw
They were
them
out yesterday
Yeah,
afternoon.
so you
Yeah.
know spring is in the air.
Yeah,
They're
they were sitting
there
out there.
sitting.
They were out there. They have two benches. I don't know where the
Oh,
other
do
one
they?
went. I gotta get up there and ask them what happened to the other bench. There's actually a brand new bench that somebody made for them, but I don't see it out. What was going on with the bench people? They were just sitting out.
Yeah, I gave him a rough time. I said, y'all need to separate.
At least 6 feet, right? That's why they have the two benches.
Yeah, they had two. There was another bench, and that was the idea of it, to separate people, and I don't know where it went to.
One of them doesn't believe in it. He doesn't believe any of this.
Oh, yeah, yes, you're right.
Good morning, 9 a.m., time to call the regular city council meeting, Worcester Courthouse to order. Let's see, Mr. Lynch will give us the invocation and I will lead us in the pledge.
Dear God, we just ask for your guidance today. From a standpoint of mental, we ask that you give us the knowledge to make decisions that are best for our citizens. From a heart standpoint, we ask for the fact that you give us the love to make decisions that meet the needs of our people. God, we pray today for the health of our employees in the city. And we pray for the health of all the people in the city. So be with us as we go through this and continue to go through this pandemic, and especially as we begin to open up things. Keep everyone safe and smart. We pray all these things in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Roll call, please.
Hernandez,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Lynch,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Blair,
Here.
Hawk,
Here.
Chrisman.
Here. Next is the approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting held April 20, is that right? Yeah, April 22nd, 2020. Any corrections, questions?
I'll make a motion to accept as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes. Mr. Denon, communications.
You have an email that was sent to all council members that we distributed.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't think we have any council committees, at least I didn't get a colored piece of paper, so. Reports of city officials, Mr. Denon, city manager.
Thank you. Opening the local economy is welcome news. With that, the more diligent people are in terms of hygiene and thinking about the situation that we're in, the better off that we are, and the stronger you can move towards full economic activity and recovery. With that said, if folks could please think about staying local. Those local merchants and businesses out there have done an exceptional job in very difficult circumstances of making our situation as comfortable as it possibly can be. We need to remember that now that we are going to be moving around a little bit more. We need to think about those folks and staying local as you go out and about. It reduces your risk and also would be very beneficial to the local economy right now. So the more that you can get out, enjoy the outdoors, and enjoy being out amongst people a little bit more again, the better off we'll be in terms of your health and the local economy. City finances, we've talked a lot about that lately. We've distributed a huge amount of information to the individual council members. Withholding isn't doing badly. Now, deposits from when you file income taxes or when businesses file income taxes, that's off about half. Most of that is from where the filing date has been moved back, okay? Because that activity will reflect 2019. So you move back the filing date, you only have about half the number of people that have filed. If you have your taxes done, you need to stop in at the income tax department. Please file those, Roxanne, Debbie. You can drop them off. They're all done at the night drop. You can mail them to us. But please think about getting that done if you haven't done that already. We continue to look at, my mask will stay up, where we are financially. Certainly the number of unemployed people that you have, those statistics are really worrying right now. It's not a situation which you can conclude that everything's fine, but equally looking at it that the glass is half empty and the sky's going to fall, that's not the correct response right now. We've been very fortunate in this community. That can change relatively rapidly, though. In our case, strong reserves help going into this. We stopped a number of equipment purchases for this year. We have about 5 retirements this year, though. That'll help out considerably. And we need to continue to watch what's going on to see if we need to continue to make further adjustments as we go along throughout the year. Would like to express congratulations to seniors graduating from high school this year. And in particular, I want to say a word of thanks to all those downtown merchants that have put up photographs of seniors in their windows. I think that's an incredibly nice gesture, and the downtown folks put that together, and it's wonderful. Would like to express thanks to the parents and the graduating seniors for their understanding during this difficult time, because that's graduation season's a little bit different than was in the past. An example of that, which actually turned out to be a lot of fun. Every year, the Rotary Club recognizes young people from Washington City Schools and Miami Trace and it awards 2 scholarships. And normally you have the students and their parents and their grandparents at a Rotary Club meeting. Obviously you couldn't do that this year. So instead, with Whitney Gentry, we taped recognizing the students this year and awarding the scholarships, and that'll be sent out to the students, and it turned out to be a lot of fun, actually. Again, congratulations to the seniors, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Denon or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Is there any projects we're going to definitely just not do this year in the city?
There'll be some small projects in the parks that you won't get done this year. Things like paving, that really has to go forward. And in the case of street, you have some diversity in the number of funds that you can take resources out of, and you had pretty decent balances. In a lot of cases, though, making adjustments with projects helps, but the money doesn't come necessarily out of the funds that you need it to come out of. A lot of what we do, like the police department, the fire department, the municipal court, those are people-driven issues. So the retirements will help out, but you'll need to be very careful for an extended period of time, because doing things like moving the filing date, you'll have to exercise some caution well through 2021. Okay? And you'll have to watch. Right now, people's reactions to social distancing, okay, have driven huge demand in a lot of major industries that are important to the city of Washington Courthouse. Sugar Creek, Walmart Distribution, folks like that. You'll have to very carefully watch how consumer behavior changes and how it affects those large employers in the community. Because that can change relatively quickly. You know, you were in about the best shape we've ever been going into this. And if the federal and state government continue positive actions in their activity, that could be very helpful. Now, there is a bill to pass on some federal money in control of the state of Ohio at the moment to local governments. That would be very helpful. It would be even more helpful if the federal treasury gave us more flexibility about what you did with that money. And the other thing to be very cautious about, the retail sector here in town, the small businesses did an exceptional job in responding to this situation. If you have a resurgence in the fall, in particular in the season that's really big to them for their entire year, that will be a very difficult situation for those businesses. Much an order of magnitude worse than what we just went through.
That would be, yes. Just one other question.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a loaded question. Anything with the parks, opening up the splash pad, anything like that, anything directed from the state or anything along those lines?
That really hasn't changed at this point in time.
Okay.
So you're not gonna see any change there.
No, okay. I didn't think so.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Denham.
I have a question. Are all of these things that are coming down from the state, do they have the weight of law? Are they suggestions? For instance, if somebody wants to go to the park, is it illegal to go?
No, it's not illegal to go to the park. Playground equipment is closed, but you can walk down the trail. It's not illegal to go to the park.
But I mean, is it illegal to use the equipment on the park?
Yeah, that's in an order from the director of health, so it has the force of law, so the answer to that would be yes.
Has that been tested or proven?
Well, if you go out and test it, what will happen is if it's reported to us, then nice policemen will show up and ask you not to do that. And, you know, you don't want to go there, there's no point in that.
But, well, when will this end? I mean, my question is, this disease is like a lot of other diseases. It's here and it's probably always gonna be here. Are we gonna build like a splash pad and then not be able to use it?
Ted, I don't have answers for questions like that. I don't have the ability. I don't know.
If I may, the Ohio legislature has, with significant effort, fought the governor tooth and nail on be shut down. They have passed one bill that limits the power of Amy Acton a little bit, because I know that they share a lot of the same concerns that you have. So, I don't know how much longer Governor DeWine will be able to shut down in the way, just to let you know, maybe that helps you, alleviates it a little bit and gives you some answers to how the legislature wants things to reopen.
It just,
Yeah.
I mean, we're nonpartisan here, but in my personal life, I'm a strong Republican, right? I think that some of these things that DeWine is mandating, I mean, we're all responsible citizens. Some things are up to us to take care, to protect ourselves. I mean, we ought to have the right to go to a playground and use it if we want to, at our risk. I mean, if we can wear a mask, we can wear gloves, we can spray everything down before we use it. But as far as just being told we can't use this stuff, some of this stuff's paid by taxpayer money that we didn't even, a lot of taxpayers didn't even, they were forced to pay these taxes and build these things, and I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me that we take risks throughout life, we send people to go die in foreign wars, and we're just think we can make society risk-free, and we just can't. We can't continue to live without taking risks. And I think it's more a case of personal responsibility as far as whether or not to use a piece of playground equipment than it is the right of the state to close it down, put tape around it, and say you can't use it. So, just from my standpoint, if there's things that we can open up, I'm in favor of it, anywhere we can. I just don't know how we're ever gonna be safe from this disease. And we can't just continue to try to stay safe from it. I mean, we can continue to do what we can, and to wear masks and do all that, but I think there's gonna come a time when we gotta live. And I think and I'm not alone in this feeling, there's a lot of other people that feel this too. There's a point where we just gotta be able to live, be free. That's all.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple for Mr. Denon. Is the stage closing going to affect, besides unemployment, is that going to affect our area?
Yeah.
As far as income?
Yeah.
Yeah, revenue, so it will affect revenue. So that's a hit right there, isn't it?
Yeah, approximately $37,000 a year, if my memory's correct.
So
But they were in a lot of trouble before this. You understand that? It's not just this. This was just the final push.
mhm.
They laid people off way before this pandemic.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be in some legal trouble though, because they violated federal law by not giving people notice before they sent out the email to tell them the place was closed.
Yeah.
I went through that personally when I worked at the air park over in Wilmington. They shut down, our company got bought out by CDW, and we would all come in and work one day, and next thing you know, everybody had them personnel, and we were gone. So somebody said something's not right, so they filed a lawsuit, and every employee did get a rebate because of the illegal. So that's could be a real challenge. Also, I assume other people are aware of the fact that we have a new business going into the old Two Scoops building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I found out from a realtor last night that she said that they were moving in there, so I didn't know if that was common knowledge or not.
What is the name of that business? I'd like to know.
Key Realty. Key.
Oh, Key, okay,
Mhm.
great.
No, Keys. Yeah, yes,
yes, but they've been here.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Riley, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before council, it's the April cash statement. Look at it at your own leisure. As you know, we have tried to keep you informed of what we're finding out. I believe every Friday or even during the week. We're keeping an eye. We call businesses, certain ones, to see how they're doing. The one thing that has happened is the water usage is up from people staying home, washing their hands and everything else. But income tax, I keep watching, and like Joe has said, some of the ones are doing unbelievable out there, Sugar Creek and Walmart distribution and things. Again, we're in territory that I don't know that anybody knows what's going on or what to do. Or, we just can't close down the city, but I am going to be interested in, come here in about 3 or 4 days, I will get my gas tax distribution, and that's going to be the first one, that will be for March. So that's when this started to hit, and see what happens in that. Other than us keeping you informed, and it's almost like a day-to-day thing with us checking things. Me and Joe meet every day, go through things, what we want to check on, what we're doing, trying to keep you informed. And then he meets with his department heads. So as of now, we're doing what we think right now is the best, but till, that's all I can say. We're trying, keeping you guys informed as best we can as to what's going on out there. But the gas tax, I think, was going to be important to see what happens on that. That's all I have. We're trying to keep you informed.
Okay. We appreciate it.
I don't know if we doing any good keeping you informed.
What are you expecting on the gas tax compared to other months?
Well,
This gas tax thing's really been going on, since the first of the year, or?
right. Go ahead, Joe.
The new
Explain.
gas tax,
Joe,
I guess I should
right.
say.
But Joe called, he had the chore calling.
Well, I talked with a fuel retailer, and I've already related that to you, and I don't feel comfortable doing that in a public setting because it's their private business.
I got you. No, I meant the city's income from the gas tax.
It'll be down.
It'll be down.
Substantially?
Yeah, because that's based on the number of
Has to be.
gallons sold.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
based on the
Yeah.
gallons number sold, and that's what we've been asking.
Mhm.
If this economy was going great guns with the gas prices there was, our taxes gas tax, would have been tremendous
People have been traveling everywhere.
everywhere.
Okay.
Tom, I filled up 5-gallon cans and stuff, so I probably increased my gallons of fuel cost myself. So I'm trying to help out.
Well, that's
So if you
good.
need gas, go to Ted's house.
Yeah,
Or when everything goes up in flames.
yeah.
Cause you have all that gas.
So if you just want
That's the diesel doesn't burn it bad. That's mostly diesel that I filled up.
Any other area in the city that is a real concern to either one of you?
Right now, it's always the general fund and the income tax levy fund, because that is driven by taxes. And we do not collect taxes on unemployment.
Right.
And those two are the ones that we're trying to keep an eye on as to where we're at. As Joe said, the tax filing deadline has got us
Yeah.
messed up, and it will mess you up the following year to
Yeah.
try to match things up.
Yeah.
Court revenues will be off because of, the highway patrol isn't doing what they normally do, and with police, you've changed some, how we approach a few things, so that'll be impacted.
Mhm.
The other thing too, we'll have to watch is what the state's gonna do with their budget,
Mhm.
their new budget.
Yeah.
They have a potential then to cut us in
Right.
it.
What is our unemployment rate in the county right now? What percentage?
Well, you're up to, I can't think of it by rate, but you're up to a bit more than 1,400 people. In relatively short order, you went from, what, 26 on to 1,400 relatively quickly?
Okay, in the Fayette County.
Yes.
Okay, I think I read that somewhere, 14, yeah. Okay,
Well, I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Donovan. Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Pitstick.
I have no report unless someone has any questions.
I guess I would ask you about the legality of some of these restrictions.
Well, let me just say, I think that it's absolutely imperative that you follow any direction that the state government gives you, unless there is something from the state legislature that says otherwise. Absolutely imperative. We're not capable, or we have no expertise in disease and what the consequences of a particular disease is. As a business, if I don't observe every safety precaution that the state of Ohio puts out, and it doesn't make any difference who puts it out, then I, as a business owner, am liable. There is a negligence factor there, and I can be sued by an individual who comes in and claims that they have contracted the coronavirus as a result of me not enforcing a particular rule or regulation by the state of Ohio. So whether you like it or not makes no difference. I think for personal safety, it is absolutely essential that everybody follow the state guidelines, simply put, in my estimation.
I agree with you, that's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost reckless at this point, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's.
And I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize, I don't
No,
have a
you're
mask,
fine.
I've got sinus.
Oh, I thought you had one on.
You may be right.
I thought it was one that was invisible, but.
Yeah.
No, I think that was a very good answer, because that is absolutely what could happen.
There are
Yeah.
suits already pending against some of
Yes.
the hospitals in
Yes.
Columbus because people have contracted coronavirus from, or COVID, whatever you wanna call it, from what they believe was a visit to the hospital.
I guess we had the conversation earlier about the playground equipment. That would be the same thing. If a child went over there and they don't know where they got it from, the playground equipment, or who we got it from, but they could come back and try to file a lawsuit against the city.
Yes, but the city has a limited
Yes, I
community,
know.
so it's gonna be more difficult
Yes,
to do that. And I think the city has taken every precaution that it can to keep
Right.
people off of the playground equipment. So I think we're doing everything we can do.
right,
People do have a certain sense of personal responsibility, as Mr. Hawk has suggested,
yes,
but that doesn't eliminate the ability of them to file a suit, which we don't want that to happen. And we want to make sure we're proactive in enforcing everything that the state of Ohio asks us to do, and our local health department.
Well, like Ted said, there's personal responsibility, but I think most of us would have to admit that common sense went out the window a few years ago. Respect for the uniform went out of the window several years ago. Respect for the the government has gone out the window. So your point is well taken, Ted, but that's push, I think.
Well, one thing I would like to emphasize, I think the social distancing fact is going to continue for several months. Mask probably will continue for a few months. Council meetings probably will continue like we are for a month or two. I think that's prudent, appropriate,
mhm,
and I think we need to protect each other as much as we can. I think we have a personal responsibility to each other as well to ourselves. and to our community, in my opinion.
I agree.
Agree.
Another question on liability, so will this carry on to other, like flu season and so on? Will a company be able to hire people when they know there's people with the flu?
All I can say to you is that if the state puts out certain requirements, for instance, you wear a mask, you social distance, you have to keep your employees so far apart, you have to put some kind of a barrier up between your employees if they're working in close vicinity to one another. And I don't know what other requirements are out there, but I think if you do not follow those requirements, then you are subject to a civil suit if someone were to come down with COVID virus. There's no doubt about it. There's hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits that have already been filed.
Mhm.
Well, don't get me wrong, I'm not against trying to be careful, and barriers are fine with me, you know, just that plexiglass or whatever you put between people, and the masks and the sanitizing everything. But
But whether we like it or not, the state of Ohio and our public health officials have given us guidelines. And I think when you have professional individuals who you've hired for that purpose to tell you when and what to do under a specific set of circumstances, it's your responsibility as a citizen to follow those. You may not like it, but I think you have an absolute responsibility to do so, and businesses as well as government have the same responsibilities.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pitstick.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Local residents and taxpayers, seeing none or not a sign-up sheet, we'll move on to legislation previously introduced. We have no old ones, so we'll go to the new legislation, ordinance number 6, 2020, first reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 6, 2020 on first reading.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Everybody knows what this is then, I guess. Roll call, please.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Ordinance number 6-2020, an ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Washington Courthouse, Fayette County, Ohio.
Thank you. B, resolution number R17, 2020, first reading.
I move that we place resolution number R17, 2020 on first reading.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll
Yes,
call.
Mr. Blair asked about, specs on the blacktop and so on, is that right?
Yes.
And, are we watching that real closely?
Oh, we changed the contract a bit, in particular in terms of the testing of the asphalt. And I'm pretty happy with that.
So the contract allows for the testing of that?
Yes.
Good.
How does that work on the testing? I was curious, who does the testing? Local?
You send out to a lab and
We do that, or
we'll take a
Cops.
sample and send it off.
and they determine,
In particular, whether or not it has the AC content, which I can't recall what AC stands for. Problem is I have Ackenpucky stuck in my head. But basically, what glues the rocks together? Tar, leftover oil, whatever you want to call that. That's basically how you measure the AC content of the mix.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair,
yes,
Hawk,
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Resolution number R17-2020, A resolution authorizing the city manager, Joseph J. Denham, of the City of Washington Courthouse to award a contract to Cox Paving for the 2020 street and alley paving program.
Thank you. Next is miscellaneous, and we'll start with Ms. Hernandez, and like the last time, say what you want to say, but these masks are hard, so keep that in mind.
I don't have anything to say today.
Oh my God, what?
Has nothing, she has nothing.
Nothing going on downtown apparently, which is bad.
I'm just I'm very nervous about I don't even know that I'm opening,
Yeah.
like physically opening. I'm open,
understand.
I've been open. But it's just a huge, yesterday I had 2 people come in, no mask, no sense of touching, feeling, everything, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't have time to chair after those people who don't have common sense.
it's gonna be hard to keep up with it.
So I just, right now, I'm waiting, and I'm going to let other people feel through it. I'm busy in other ways, so I'm gonna just wait but there's a huge responsibility.
It is, yes.
So,
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schultz.
Well, it's the same thing. We're all talking about these masks and everything, and I think it's wearing the mask is protecting other people. I realize that, and that's what you do. You wear your mask in your business to protect them. They should be doing the same thing. It's kind of a respect. I look at it that way. You need to have your mask. You're protecting other people by wearing a mask, and so I wish more people would kind of think of it that way. It's protecting your children, protecting your grandparents, your parents. That's what the whole thing is about a mask. And there's a little saying you might put in your head when you're walking around: you give space and live safe. So that is a little thing you can kind of say to yourself all the time: give some space and live safe. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Blair.
Yes, I think we kind of touched on it a while ago, Mr. Chairman. Since the public is limited and restricted to council meetings, is there a way that we can make the public aware that if they have something pressing, that we can put them in a separate room, call them in to express themselves, and then leave? I'm kind of concerned about the perception that the public's not allowed to come to these meetings, or I know they can watch it on video, but that's a different issue. The personal, we've, in the past, there's been several people who have come, and has there been any thought from our leadership about putting something out, hey, we're, even though the pandemic is going on, you still can come, but you will be, with mask, of course, put off to a separate room, and then you can come in and address the council. Because I know a lot of people, sure, they can call Ted up or call me up or anybody and say, hey, I've got this concern. Well, that doesn't mean that it's going to get to full council. And I think there are some issues that really full council would need to address. And so they may come and they may not come, but nevertheless, I think we should make them aware that they still have the opportunity presented to them where they can still speak to council when needed. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I would suggest maybe if we could get it in the paper or something, and I hate to put a load on Joe, but since Joe's been city manager, he's been very good with handling citizen questions, complaints, whichever you want to call them. And about 99% of them, if they would call the city building, would get taken care of probably that day. So I see where you're coming from with it, but from a health standpoint and separation and all this stuff, Joe's very good at that. So.
I would largely agree, Mr. Chairman. What I've found is that 1%, you said that 99% does work. For that 1%, it's a catharsis experiment, I guess, in their minds to come in and just speak to people in charge. And I think everyone's feeling cooped up at home, and maybe they just want to talk to someone, and we're not their therapist, but maybe if they came in, they would feel better. So And again, not to disagree, I do agree that Joe does a great job handling 99%. You know, but that 1% sometimes maybe they just like to come in and talk to their official.
Yeah, I would agree with that. However, a pretty good percentage of the people we have coming up, their problems, questions, situations are nothing compared to this pandemic we're going through. So, there again, on the separation and stuff, you know, and like I said, Joe handles them very well. If not, they can call Kelly, so. And she does very well too. And Mr. Pitstick and Mr. Rod, depending on what the question's about, but,
Well, just an observation, I think that every council member here has always been very dedicated to addressing concerns that are brought to them. And I don't think anybody has the desire is to identify a problem and see what can be done about it and move on from there.
Because I've got 2 or 3 things right here I'll talk to Joe after the meeting about that some citizens came to me about, but nothing they wanted to come to the meeting for. You know, they called me personally, but that's how we're handling it, and I said, I'll take care of it. And I think that's how most of us has been doing the situation too. And if it's a real concern, we'll call Joe, and like Jim just said, he usually takes care of it the same day, or at least within a certain amount of time. So that's agreeable to everybody. And did we ever say that, has it ever been said that they can't come to the meeting?
No.
I didn't think we ever said that.
Well, one person puts us.
Well, somebody have to leave, yeah. I
Well,
get you.
yeah, somebody'd have to leave, but
Mhm.
it's,
So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you could add one more person.
yeah.
We could throw one
the
man on the
attorney's
meeting.
usually here.
Yeah, no, that's true. See?
I
that's
think
gotta
you could be
concern all-
arrested for that.
Somebody calling you already, Ted. See, we were just discussing it.
Put on speakerphone by the microphone.
No, I thought we never said that they could not come. I don't think it's ever been written in the paper or anything that they could not come, but if they had a concern, to contact any one of us, which would be what we could do, Jim, just put it in there, and then we can make arrangements for them to either speak to us or Joe and take care of the situation then, so.
Yeah, if you can make a determination, I mean, I've got a website, as you all know, I got almost, 500 and some followers for the city council. And I could put it out there, at least, you know how word of mouth is, once something gets out there, then it gets around. I mean, I would just like for us to be clear on this whole issue that, hey, if you have an issue, and I email Joe first usually, about all the time also. But like a good example was the zoning issue that over there on Elm Street. Well, they contacted several council people, and it looked like that it was going to be done till the group came here and sat and discussed, and then more things come out with a full discussion from the whole panel, and look what happened. They turned everything around, went against what the planning commission suggested. So I'm just, like Caleb said, the 1%, that 1% could be critical.
Yeah, but we're also not doing anything like that, that is just so, we're doing very basic stuff right now. And nothing that we put on our agenda has been controversial
Yeah, that's
or
true.
affect the public in a great way. That was very much affected the neighborhood. So I don't think until we have something like that on our agenda, and I don't think that's our intentions right now unless someone brings it to us. Because we're trying to just keep it low and less money and.
Okay, I just got a final quote here. Dale, I hope we don't have the same quote today. In all this,
I doubt that we do.
okay, all this free time that I've had, I do a lot of reading, and I ran across a quotation from Ben Franklin. He said, "It takes many good deeds to build a good reputation, and only one bad one to lose it."
That's true.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Lynch?
I'm thinking about what Jim just brought up. Here's the dilemma you run into. I don't have a problem, and I agree. We could set it up so that people could come in and sit across the hall, and if they have something they wanna bring before council, they could come over, and as soon as they bring it up, they could leave and somebody else could come. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. So the dilemma is, I guess, if they go over there and sit down, and somebody else comes in and sits down, are they getting the coronavirus from where they sat? I don't know that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I don't have a problem with, it would be nice if they could tell us they were coming, so we would know how many people to prepare for. But
Right.
if there's a way of doing that, I don't have a problem with that. I, like Jim, one of the main things I've done is read a lot. So my quote today comes from one of my favorite authors, David McCullough, who writes a lot of history books. And you'll think this is stupid, but I was reading his book on the Johnstown flood. Okay? This is what he said in the book. After studying the Johnstown flood and what happened, this is back in the late 1800s. It is extremely dangerous, very possibly even disastrous, to assume that because people are in positions of responsibility, they are therefore behaving responsibly. We have to, as people in positions of responsibility, make sure that we're behaving responsibly. That's true of every government entity. I 100% disagree with what Ted said earlier. Everybody in this situation is really responsible. If at some point another flu causes at this point 80-some thousand people to die, and they think maybe twice that many, yes, I think there would be a reason to do what we're doing now again. If we get too careless with this, it will get worse again and maybe twice as bad because it might come during regular flu season. Every student that I've had contact with via emails and those kind of things tell me how much they hate doing classes online. And that's true of college students too. They absolutely hate it. If this hits again in the fall, and we go from 80-some thousand to 130, 40, 50,000, more than we've lost in many wars that we've been involved in, how do we act responsibly? I'm like everybody else. I would dearly love to get a haircut.
I'll do it.
I would love to. But we have to act responsibly. And I'll be honest, when I walk into Kroger's, I may be one of 2 or 3 people that have a mask on.
Exactly.
That's true.
And it's not for me.
That's right.
It's not saving me anything. It's for the other people in Kroger's or wherever. I'm trying to be responsible to other people. I don't think they're being responsible to me. And as Mr. Chrisman and I were saying, I'm pretty much in a bad category. I've had heart issues, I'm old. I don't want to get coronavirus. We have to act responsibly as a city council, as a state legislature and a governor, As the President of the United States and Congress, we have to act responsibly. Just because people are elected to those positions doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna act responsibly. And so we have to, but in more important, with a coronavirus or anything like this, it is a situation where each individual, you might say, has been elected to act responsibly. And the only other thing I would say is, if you study history at all, anytime there's been any kind of a situation like a pandemic or a war, the government has had to step in and do things that, yes, take away individuals' rights. Why? Because it's for the good of everybody. Not just that one person who wants to go to Kroger's and not wear a mask. It's for the good of everybody. And so, yes, I do think it's a political issue, and I do think we all need to be responsible. Otherwise, we may get drowned in a flood like happened in Johnstown. It'll just be a little different kind of flood. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hall?
Okay, I'm gonna continue to beat this dead horse. With 30 or 40 million people unemployed right now, and my children having to pay for all this money that we're printing up and passing out, I'm willing to take a chance on dying for their sake. And if me trying to stay safe just because I'm old or in that category, I'm not really old, but I'm gonna put there. I think maybe there's been some irresponsible mandates sent down to us. There might be on that side of the coin some people doing the wrong thing. And as Caleb said, even our legislature, who have been duly elected, have pushed back against the governor somewhat. I'm not saying throw caution to the wind, but I'm willing to take my chances for the sake of my kids. This isn't gonna be easy to climb back out of. There's a lot of people that are suffering because they can't work, and it's really put a hardship on our country, and it makes us very vulnerable to be in the situation we're in. China would just love for us to go down, and so would Russia. And I hurriedly read this email that we got, and I hope that we take it seriously what has been said here. I mean, we shouldn't look at that. I mean, I took it as an affront because, anytime I get accused of doing something, I don't like it. But, not everybody's a crackpot that disagrees with what's going on. And I just want to lend my voice to that we ought to slack off a little bit and still be responsible and do both. Get back to work and do courage. Because our kids, they're going to pay for all this. We're not going to be, most of us aren't going to be, well, Caleb might be around a while. But,
That's the hope.
and Kendra's still young, which, by the way, Kendra, while I'm at it, my son in Mississippi is shopping locally here in town.
I know he is. I had him on this call.
Yeah.
There you go.
I gave him told him I gave you a rough time regularly.
Yeah, and my kids didn't always agree with me, but, and they still don't, but, I'm willing to take the risk for my sake, for the sake of my kids. That's all I have. Thank you.
I had a guy say to me one time, he said, I don't trust anybody. I said, let me ask you a question. How many people did you trust just getting here today, that they wouldn't cross over that yellow line? You know, you don't go around driving with your lights off at nighttime, so therefore you're being responsible. So those are things that people have to think about a little bit. You know, you trust a lot of people in a day's time. Just going from here to home, we trust a lot of people. So trust is a big, big thing. We trust they will do the right thing, is what we're trusting. That they always do the right thing to protect us, and we do the right thing to protect them. And we do that every day, driving up and down the highway, 70, 80 mile an hour passing cars. We trust the next guy that he's gonna do the right thing. So he's trusting we do the right thing. So there's a lot of trust goes on in this world that people don't even think about. So, but thank you.
I'd like to add one more thing. I agree with Mark about liability, and we're put in a situation of liability, but we can also talk to the people that put us in this situation. I mean, they put us here as far as liability is concerned, because they said so, now we're liable. And that doesn't sit very well either with me, so. Okay. Now,
Mr. Johnson.
Well, you know, after listening to everyone on this, I think that the big thing that I'm picking up is that we're all still a little bit scared of this in one way or another.
Mhm.
Maybe it's because of the health ramifications, maybe it's because of the economic ramifications. And you know, even I'm going through this email that Joe got from Mr. Taylor, and he sounds a bit scared too. Kelly, if you don't mind, Kelly shared with me, she felt a little bit scared about it. And I think, you know, that's where I'm getting this. I think that was a very poignant point that you made, because we're all sort of dealing with this, and nothing like this has really happened since 1918. And I think we all feel a little bit hostage as a local government to a bunch of state officials, and whether they know what they're doing or not, that is a matter of trust and faith. And there's not much we can do about it, as you know, Mark has highlighted, as you know, Dale has said, and as Ted said. I think that you know, trying to walk a middle path on this, trying to walk that narrow path between safety and between common sense. For me personally, for example, I agree with Dale. I think having someone walk up, as long as they promise not to cough on me as they walk by, you know, that would be nice. But I think that the politics of it, I feel like Ted, and yet personal wise, I feel like Dale, and so I'm a bit torn. Because as a young person, I'm not really gonna die likely, but I've got a 93-year-old grandfather in Stark County who is very much at risk, and he will die if he gets this. And he's my last remaining grandparent. So, you know, things affect us in different ways, whether we're personally scared, but I quarantine so that I don't give it to other people. So I would like to send that message out there to everyone who's not wearing masks. You might feel safe walking through Kroger's, but yet I would ask you, not because I can tell you to put a mask on your face, but if you would just think about the other people who are vulnerable in your life, and if you would make that self-sacrifice that we're all making, self-sacrifice that's required in times of war. Whenever, yeah, we weren't really that worried about people necessarily boots on the ground in America, and yet many of our wars are fought overseas just because we're worried about the other extraneous effects that might happen throughout the rest of the world. And it's that larger than us mindset that has always made this country great, and I would ask people in this small little community to remember that and to be sensitive to that. And if it means wearing a mask, and if it means you feeling like you got a little bit less freedom, just remember you have the freedom to make that choice of putting on the mask, and you have the freedom to help other people who are vulnerable during this time. So whenever people like Ben Taylor write, there are a few questions, such as why are doctors asked to report any cause of death to CV-19 in the absence of confirmatory testing? Well, because it's likely. It is pretty deadly. Our hospitals paid $13,000 for each claim CV-19 patient and $39,000 for each ventilator request, because the hospitals are doing a good job and the ventilators work, and it's worth that money. Our testing methods being used which should not confirm COVID-19, which the testing vendor said should not be used to identify a specific disease. We have more testing in the United States than anywhere else in the world. Why are goats and fruits even testing positive? Well, because China lied about this disease for a long time. That's part of why we're scared. American scientists are figuring this out, and 30-year-olds are having strokes. There are neurological diseases that have been occurring because people ate bats. And they lied, and it got way out of hand. And there's a bunch of other questions like this. But the fact is that we don't know all of the answers. And we are just as hostage to this disease as everyone else. So, please wear a mask. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everyone for their comments and views. Sometimes we agree to disagree, and that's fine, that's the way our system works. No problem for me. How about a motion for adjournment?
I'll move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Chris Smith.
Yes.
Very good. Good discussion.
Hey, Kendra, talked about haircuts.
I'll give a haircut. I'm giving some home.
One thing about this stay-at-home stuff, my wife has learned a new skill. And she cuts my hair. One more time, I'll no longer need to go to a barber.
I'm about ready to
Return to a barber again? I may never go back.
Everybody, before
Save some
you
money.
disperse,
Yeah, go ahead.
the joint response to the email, are you comfortable with that? Do you want to do that?
I have a few slight changes I will send in, just for what I want. It's a slight language change.
Okay,
A few things, and then everyone can approve. We'll email this, is that all right?
okay.
A few things.
I haven't looked at it yet personally. I'll have to look at it myself.
I need to read it too, I haven't read it.
Yeah,
I just
read
need
it a little closer.
Okay.
Usually.
Well,
everything
look
you
at
write-
it and then tell me what you want to do.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Have you,
They're up and
I'm
on.
just thinking about a
Household
conversation we had
rules.
last night with Christy Wall.
Uh-huh.
Well, household.
She was talking about
My
consistency
ears.
Uh-huh.
My ears.
Yeah.
and how all of a sudden things have really changed.
They were supposed to go on in about 15
I don't
minutes.
know if that would be helpful
I
to
thought
you,
5 minutes.
It's not a bad idea.
which makes sense, the palette, you know what I mean? So,
Well, I know that.
That's
the
a
city
pretty good deal.
needs it first,
Okay.
because they've made that move. Yeah.
I have just 2 things, and then I
Okay.
want to write things down, because we have police.
Yeah,
Interviews coming up, sorry, I know I'm not 6 feet, real quick. Oh.
420 Roll, Retail Alley.
Sorry.
420
Been behind the scenes going on.